Paul, George from MovieWeb, so happy to be talking with you about this
Thank
project.
you, George. Good to see you.
Likewise. So the first thing I want to ask is I feel like this is a sequel and it really expands on the story in a fun way, in new directions with these characters. And even though I know, you just did it and, and you don't want to think ahead, I'm curious because it feels like it sets up dynamics that could be explored further. Like
Yeah.
that feels like a big part of what it was. And I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about what you want to do or the directions you'd go in.
Well, they've evolved so much. The two characters, especially Stephanie. I mean, who is in such a completely different place
Yeah.
now, having solved a lot of stuff and figured a lot of stuff out, and figured Emily out more than she has to an extent. Um, I think there's a lot more room for their friendship, their tentative friendship to go in different ways. This movie is so much about trust. These
Mhm.
movies are really about trust. Like, who do you trust? And especially the new one is very much about like, is this person trying to kill me? Is this person like me? Do they need me? Did they change? Did somebody change?
Which
You
person is this?
yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly. Can somebody change that much? And so I just think now that Emily's in a very different place, and now she's got some entanglements she has to deal with to try to stay alive. It's going to change the pressures on her, and it's going to add more doubt to Stephanie of like, what does Emily really need? What does she want? And that's what's fun. It's, the fun of these movies and movies in general and life in general is you don't know what people are thinking, and you don't know if the people are being honest or not and what they're trying to get and what they're trying to avoid. And that's the fun area that we'd like to play with.
I love that. It's like kind of the dramatic tension or irony that is like a Hitchcock thing, like who knows what and who's thinking what
Yeah.
and who wants what. And I love how you played with it the whole time.
Oh,
Uh,
thank it's a nice. I love watching all kinds of true crime and all
yeah.
kinds of stuff like that. It is really fun.
I'm curious because, going back in your career, Spy is a huge streaming hit. It continues to be so popular. Um, in the same vein of like expanding universes, would you be excited about or consider going back to that with Statham and McCarthy, or is that something that you don't see happening? Um,
I don't know. I mean, of all my movies, that's probably the one that would be the most make most sense to do another one of. I'm not a big sequel chaser, even though we just did one. I
yeah.
love doing original stuff, and it takes so long to make a movie. That like The Housemaid was so much fun because like I've never worked with that cast before, and that book was so different, and it was the genre is much darker than I normally do, and there's something great about that. So if anything, part of me avoids sequels just because I don't want it to take me away from something that might be new and exciting.
Yeah, in that vein, I'd love to hear because you have done so many different kinds of things. What's the wish list like of like a genre or a playground or like a kind of story?
Yeah, I mean, I like all my movies are genre movies, really,
Yeah.
and just working my way through them. I'm dying to do a musical. Got to figure out a musical, but that is original and good. A western, desperate to do a western. Love to do big sci-fi epic would be fun. Straight up horror movie would be really fun. But everything I do is a comedy, even if it's super dark. There it has to be that element to it, even
I
if it's
think,
the
yeah,
comedy of extremeness. Yeah.
I love that. Another classic. You remind me of so many of the classic filmmakers, and I think
Yeah.
about Billy Wilder sometimes because he did everything, but
Yeah.
there was always a little lightness or humor to it. And I
Yeah.
see that in the work you do because no matter where it goes, there's going to be a little bit of an awareness of the audience, sort
Yeah.
of.
Oh, thanks. One of my favorite filmmakers is Howard Hawks, who just went genre to genre and like crushed it in each genre. I mean, his comedies are hilarious and his gangster movies are scary, and
Yes.
it's fantastic. So to be able to do that is really fun. Or try
Yeah,
to.
I if you do continue with this storyline, it
Mhm.
feels like it's becoming, for lack of a better term, buddy-ish in their adventures, that they kind of have to forge these things together. Maybe next time even more so, because this time it felt like they started off like really opposites, but by the end, this bond is very significant.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because it's a bond that I like and I think is fun, but also our test audiences sometimes, if they get too chummy, people get weird about it. Like they, and I get that too, because like that's the fun is this weird cat and mouse, and they, oh, you think they're good, and then like, what? She just screwed her over, or did she, or you not? So I actually think the next one could kind of take them in a slightly more adversarial direction, but but with the friendship and the that kind of weird love they have for each other infused in there. So so none of us really know exactly what's going on, especially them.
Can you talk a little bit about the way you used location as a part of the story? Because it's beautiful and it takes us somewhere. One of the fun things movies can also do is take you somewhere you might not get to go. You
Yeah.
get to be in a kind of hotel you might not get to be in, all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And I feel like you really sunk your teeth into it. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've always wanted to do a movie in Capri. I've been going there for 30 years and just always thought, but I didn't know what I wanted to do there. But I'm really hung up on with darker movies or scary movies or thrilling movies, that stuff happening in broad daylight and in
Mm.
light. I feel like doing scary things in the dark is like, sure, and okay, not anybody could do that, but it's you're already kind of gaming the system when you do that versus you know like scary things happening in where you can see everything on a happy day. Walk out on a beautiful day and like something awful happens. It's just more. It feels more impactful to me in a weird way, and so yeah. So amidst the gorgeous beauty of Capri that we have this high body count going on, that's fun for me to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that the menace comes in a slightly different form, right? When
Yeah,
you have
yeah.
that kind of beautiful setting that they're in. Well, we have to wrap, but I really appreciate you taking the time today. It's been
Oh,
great,
my pleasure,
and
George.
thank you for all you've done.
Oh, thank you. No, I appreciate it, and I will talk to you again. I'm sure at the end of the year for the housemaid.
I can't wait.
Excellent.
See you
Thanks,
then. Bye.
buddy. Cheers. Bye bye.